Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I was sitting here watching homework on my latest player. I gave myself the morning off on doing these basketball prospects. I woke up with a little time to kind of get ready and all of that. So my thinking was, if I sit here and watch the 45-minute video of this player, I'm not going to be able to check out of the room on time and all of these different things. So it was like, I'm just going to give myself a break. And I'm kind of glad I did, because now I decided to watch that 45-minute video tonight, and I don't have an eye for this particular player's style of play and his archetype. So for me, it's like 45 minutes of this is not something I want to watch. I've gained some respect for the player. We'll talk about him tomorrow. Well, yeah, I guess we will talk about him tomorrow if I pick a different player tomorrow. But what I think I probably will do is pick up this same player tomorrow and listen to all the commentary on this player, finish watching the highlights on this player, and then consider that being how I do homework for that player, and then the following day maybe come up with somebody else and then come to you the following day with that video. So I'm still trying to figure it out. I haven't made up my mind, but I think that's where I'm leaning right now, because I know I haven't done enough homework on this particular player, and I'm not even halfway through that 45-minute video. So yeah, man, I'm learning something about myself when it comes to basketball, preference of styles of play and things like that. I don't particularly love certain archetypes. I prefer doing homework on certain archetypes over others. I like wings. I like centers that can shot block, high fly acts, that kind of thing. I'm not the guy that wants to do too much homework on the 6'4" guard that plays under the rim, that doesn't particularly get other people involved. That's like one of my least favorite archetypes. It just is what it is. Some of these guys are really good, but I just keep seeing Raymond Felton over and over again. It's basically, it's like, yo, I don't hate Raymond Felton's game. Back in the day, he was fun to watch at times because he could get others involved. But that's kind of what I see in several of these guards in the second round that kind of fit that archetype. They're just a bunch of Raymond Feltons, which is fine, but I don't want to watch that. I think they are intricate to helping teams have stability and shooting, and they can be nice players who can play some defense at times. That's, that archetype is not completely useless. I just don't prefer to do homework on that archetype too often. So yeah, that's the type of player I ended up finding myself doing homework on today. And I just said, man, I got to stop this and talk about something else. So yeah, that's what I did. Turned on the camera, and I watched the San Antonio game with the Thunder tonight. I enjoyed every second of that. That was awesome. Double overtime game, the first one in the playoffs since our game against the Denver Nuggets. So I'm sure we lost that game. I don't remember, but we had a double overtime game with them in 21. No, I don't think we won it. But yeah, San Antonio won the game. Wemby was awesome, amazing as hell. They gave Shai Gilgeous-Alexander MVP. Congratulations to him. Even though I'm not pleased with him getting it necessarily, I still am a fair guy, and I send congratulations to guys when they do stuff that is awesome like that. So give him his credit. But I thought at the end of the day, Wemby probably would have been my choice for MVP, and I think Wemby came out with a statement tonight essentially telling everybody the same thing. Like, yo, you should consider me for the MVP from here on out, because I'm the best player in the world. And I think he's making a very strong case for it, especially after tonight's performance. So what that game kind of did for my mind is kind of venture me off into a space where I'm thinking about my Lakers and what we need to do to be able to compete against the Thunder or the Spurs. And the one thing that I noticed the Spurs doing well, and of course the Thunder as well, was just having smart basketball play on the defensive end. Sound decision-making on the defensive end stood out. Spurs, making quality decisions to leave certain things alone and stay true to other things. For example, was a play where Wemby stayed home on the shooter in the corner and allowed for Shai to lay the ball up on Stephon Castle. The logic was, we'd rather give up the 2 than give up the 3. You know what I mean? If Shai can beat Castle, so be it. Now, Castle may have given Shai the angle thinking that Wemby was coming over, but when he looks back at the tape, he'll understand, well, that was not the smarter play under those circumstances. That type of logic and that type of discipline defensively was consistent throughout the course of this basketball game on both sides of the floor. Both of these teams were absolutely and utterly capable of completing their assignments defensively, and then from there, locked into the game plan that was provided. I think we did a good job of showing flashes of being a pretty competent defensive team overall this year. I don't think we were bad defensively when it was all said and done, despite having some major deficiencies defensively. I think we were a pretty damn sound but defensive team for, all of the deficiencies that we had. Naturally, we came together to be a respectable defensive squad, I think. But I think if we have one area we would love to improve, it is definitely our overall team defense. Now, my philosophy on that is to approach solidifying elite shot blocking and then let everything else trickle down from there. But maybe you have a different philosophy. I'm open-minded. I'm still learning the game, just like everybody else, forever a student of the game. And I think you need a combination of great elite perimeter play with wings that are toolsy, that can deflect and win 50-50 balls and get boards and all of that. But the rim protection is really what I think gives you a base, so that if you don't have the greatest wings and you don't have the most fast and athletic toolsy guys, at the end of the day, when things come toward the rim, they're being altered or being blocked. That type of piece, I think, is what the Lakers really, really could use to overall improve their team defense. Because at the end of the day, and as I've mentioned this before, if we're building around Austin and Luka, it's kind of hard to become an elite defensive team around those two. But if you're going to do the best job at making that happen, you got to get them elite rim protection. So that's kind of what I've been thinking about. I've been listening to a lot of mock drafts. Obviously, with the way my brain thinks, I think that you can find a lot of your answers in the draft for a lot of your fit issues. When I look at the team like the San Antonio Spurs, I see two rookies playing key roles on their team in the Western Conference Finals. You're talking about Carter Bryant and Dylan Harper. Granted, those guys were lottery picks, but they're rookies just the same, and they're out there playing big roles for capital gain. So I am of the mindset that that's how you win in today's league. You look at the Thunder, and you obviously see a young squad. Oldest person on the team was AC, who happened to have a 30-piece tonight on 8 threes, by the way. Why we gave him up, somebody needs to answer for that. As we continue to see him continue to be just a winner and just come up big in the biggest moments. But just the same, it comes down to seeing that he's the oldest player on the Thunder. Most of that team is young. The Thunder have built their team through the draft. They constructed their team through the draft, and they found answers to their fit circumstances in the draft. And as they go forward, I would imagine that could continue to be the case when you consider them having 2 lottery picks. Whatever it is that they see in this series that they don't like, if they think there's something they can do to fulfill a fit situation on their team, I would imagine they're going to use their picks to do it. And I just think that the Lakers can use that same philosophy. I don't think free agency is the answer to our problems in theory. What free agency can do is make you pay premium price to fit a need. It's one of those situations where I always wonder about the logic behind people looking at free agency as a means of fitting their needs, fulfilling the needs of the team, and being deterred from thinking of the draft as something to fulfill the fit of the team. Now, granted, when you draft, a lot of times it's about ignoring fit so that you could take the best talent so that talent could eventually pop. But the logic is lost that if you bring a player that potentially you think can pop to a situation that is broken, a broken roster, or a roster that doesn't fit him, and he doesn't have the elements around him that could play cohesive basketball, you could put a strain on that player that can lead to injuries, reduce value, combination of both, and guys can end up being bust. Guys that would have been great if you would have just had a constructed team around them that would have helped them Instead, you want to bring them to a situation that isn't complete, and they end up faltering in a lot of more than not. And I think about the fit that people are throwing out there, saying, "Oh, bring Acuff to the Brooklyn Nets." The Brooklyn Nets need to construct a team that fits a player like Acuff, who's only going to play one side of the ball. Surrounded by a bunch of other guards just like him, having so many different needs on their roster not fulfilled by quality talent. You may say, well, I'm leaving the best talent on the board if I don't take Acuff, but you're also getting a high quality answer to a fit need as well if you're in that range and you're taking the best available player that fits a fit. So it's one of those situations where it's like there's balance to say that you could go one way and it could work, you can go the other way and it could work too, and vice versa. Being locked into a certain logic can leave you with a lot of different variables that may not fit your situation, or rather its consequences, trying to align with a certain logic about how to draft or how to construct your team that ultimately leave you without your best options to best construct your team. As I was listening to somebody today on a mock draft, he was saying, I would take a player that fits a certain way, but when you draft, you must never draft for fit. You always take the best player available. I'm like, no, because there are going to be a lot of times when you do that you really will be bringing a good player to a bad situation. And you really will be leaving a player the highest quality available option to fulfill a most definite need that you have on the board. So you could have I think the best way to approach team building is to have a fluidity about these things, not necessarily being married to rules. You know what I mean? It's to say, I'm always going to do this because this is how you do this. No, this is not how anything. If you're going to build properly, you got to be fluid and open to all different types of blessings, so to speak. If you see a fit player that really, really works for your situation, it may not be the worst idea to pass up on a high-level player that's a redundancy to your team. Yeah, you could be messing up thinking that because you have Clyde Drexler that you don't need Michael Jordan. But you could also be bringing Michael Jordan to a situation where he's not going to become Michael Jordan because it's Clyde Drexler in the way who he has to try to usurp. In the process of that, he never gets the opportunity to spread his wings, and he's on a team that doesn't have proper everything else because you shouldn't have drafted him. You should have drafted somebody else. So it's like there's no perfect science. But one thing's for certain, if you bring a player to a situation that isn't constructed properly, you're putting a strain on him. And for certain, if you bring a player to a situation that's not constructed properly, he's not going to look his best, and that's going to affect his value. And as soon as you draft a player, regardless of whether it's the best player available or a player that you brought to your situation based on fit, they immediately lose value, just like a car when you drive it off the lot. Immediately. So you better make sure you can get the most out of them. Otherwise, you're going to be selling them for half the price, trading them for half the price, or ultimately just waiving them in the end. So, I just think when it comes to this Los Angeles Lakers thing, our situation is very sensitive. And we're already a constructed team around Luka the Don, Austin Reeves. That's your mainstay. Those are your two main characters. Whatever comes to you has to fit around them. Our team may not be built around them as of yet. You are constructing something, but you're not starting from scratch like a Brooklyn Nets or, say, a Memphis Grizzlies or right now currently a Chicago Bulls team, teams that are literally starting from scratch. You already have the most main and important pieces on your roster, so which means you have direction. So we got to follow the template of that direction, or scrap the idea of what we're doing here, and rebuild, which is always an option, but maybe not the best one for us. So, with that being said, I think the Lakers, again, keeping fluidity in mind, looking at how the draft board could potentially shake out, will determine what I think makes the most sense for us. There's a world where you find yourself in another Dalton Connect situation at 25, where a guy like I'll just throw a name out there. Maybe Nate Ament is still available at 25. A 6'10" wing that could potentially turn into a superstar if he develops properly. Or you also got a guy on the board that fits your need, like I don't know, maybe somebody left to make it make sense. You still have Vesar on the board, you know what I mean? So you got to choose between Nate and Vesar. Clearly, Vesar probably, in most situations, you would expect be able to fulfill a need at the center position, and you really do need that piece. But a guy like Nate was potentially somebody you should have been taken somewhere around between 5 and 12, and he fell to you at 25. So it's like we did that with Dalton. It didn't work out. We didn't do that with what's the guy's name? Cam Whitmore. And that didn't work out. Although Cam Whitmore's career is not getting off to the greatest start either. So, grand scheme of things, he has to continue to prove himself before we're ready to say that was actually solidified at this point to be the worst decision for us, not taking him. But just the same, the point was we let something slide past us and we regretted it. We didn't let something slide past us and neglected to fulfill the need to fill our fit, demands. And so Dalton Connect ended up coming to a basketball team. We still didn't have a solidified center, didn't have the proper defensive wings, brought ourselves another offensive player that couldn't defend. It didn't look that great on paper when we did it, but he was a player that shouldn't have been on the board at that point. And following the consensus mock drafts rules, we just felt we would be irresponsible to do that 2 years in a row, not taking a player that fell to us. All of that made all the sense in the world. I get it. I'm with it. The problem is neither of those worked out. I think this team at this point should not be married to any rules. Married to no rules. We will have a big board in front of us that we've done homework on. I'm sure we've hired scouts that have a big board, many big boards amongst the many of them, I guess. I don't know how they have it set up, but I'm pretty sure they've done homework on players for years. They know all these guys back and front. Upon the moment where it's time to make a decision, it's as simple as what's in front of us, what are our risk factors, how much risk, what's our risk threshold, and how well will we be able to bring this player to us and have them succeed in the timeline that we demand for ourselves in that the window of time for which we want to see that player be their best. Can we realistically get that out of them if we bring them to us? And if not, is it most responsible to leave a player on the board that will fulfill a need when our timeline is right now? They pay these people a lot of money to make these decisions, and so I'm leaning in on their expertise as a voice in the ethos, so to speak, talking this Lakers stuff. I try to provide as much information as I can gather and put it out there for them. That's really what my role is. And so, going into that second round, I just think it's so important for the Lakers to try to get themselves a pick or two in that second round, man. And I do think that the second round in this year's draft, with the way the NIL world is set up, is really built for teams that are set with a timeline and already constructed, so that the players that are on that board at that point will likely be seniors and overseas guys that people haven't seen very much, and 6'4" guys who are play under the rim that likely are not great facilitators or defenders, who do a lot of jump shots and stuff like that. That's what you're going to see in the second round, a lot of those guys. But, for teams that need floor spacing, for teams that want wings that are ready to contribute right now, fours that have wingy, toolsy bodies that may not have the greatest upside. There's several of those guys in this draft. So, the Lakers, I think, need to get in that range because we fit that mold. We are that team that has a definitive timeline, who needs toolsy wings, who needs centers, who needs solidified players that coach can trust that have already been in school for 4 years that you don't have to teach too damn much. Maybe they don't have the upside, but we don't need them to have a superstar upside because we have superstars. What we need is role players, sound ones that provide us a certain stability and depth to our situation going forward for at least 6 years while our timeline is intact with Luka. So does that mean that I don't want an upside piece? No, but if I don't bring myself solidified pieces, then I will have a shallow basketball team with more of this Adu Thero waiting around type stuff going on. I need pieces that JJ's going to play right now. I need pieces that are going to fit a role. I need guys who know what the hell they're doing. And I need to fulfill all of those spots that lack stability so that I can then be able to compete for a championship and from there be able to take chances on projects without it being a detriment to my overall timeline. And so that's really what I'm about at this point. I think the Lakers, it's most responsible for us to complete our construction. Teams that are complete, that fully have their construction intact, can take a chance on the 18-year-old kid that needs to develop, or the guy with the upside who may be a sophomore, a young sophomore, you know what I mean? Because at that point, if they bring that player to them, they don't need him to play for 2 years. They don't need him to get out there and run so that you can fulfill all of your needs as a unit. And so stability, establishing positional stability, I think should be the goal for my Los Angeles Lakers. We need to solidify our wing situation with players that we like a lot, that we will keep on tab for several years, that we expect will be able to do the job. Two-way talent, guys that can do it on both sides of the floor at a high enough level so that we don't have to think about them, so that we don't have to keep replacing them. You know what I mean? Literally. I think about a team like the Detroit Pistons. For me, in their situation, they need solidified shooters so that they don't have to keep renting shooters every year. Guys that only stick around for a year to provide the spacing they need. They need somebody solidified that they have on a rookie contract that they plan on re-signing, that can stay for about 7 to 8 years, that can provide mainstay shooting to their situation. For us, we need that in the center. We need that in the center, and we need that in what I like to call banshees. Dirty work guys that are wingy, toolsy, that can play the 3 and the 4 combination. Maybe even the 2 if we get lucky. Cam Carr type dudes. Mikal Bridges type dudes. You need these type of players. So once we get those roles solidified and stable, I think then it'll give us the freedom to have a bit more of a risk threshold for all the different 2 guards that we like, one, ball handling, role playing, Nick Smith type dudes that our coaches, our GM tends to have an eye for. We need to solidify who we are first before we take another one of them type of dudes. Even if you love them to death, it probably should be solidifying your center position this go round. And that's tough for me, man. That's tough for me. Looking at where we're at 25, I like some of those guys that don't fit that bill. I have a taste for upside. I like, a Malik Thomas. I think a Malik Thomas could potentially be an all-star someday. I'm leaving him on the board so that I could take a center like Vassar. That's hard for me. I'd rather have Malik Thomas in a lot of situations than Vassar. I'm not going to want to do that. But it's that I need a center that I would be forced to do that, and I need to respect that need. And if I would have been leading up to this point, stabilizing those positions, salute the Kobe minute, then I would be able to take a Malik Thomas and I could leave Vassar on the board if that's what my preference would be. But it's because we didn't sacrifice enough to solidify, and we skipped those steps and was taking project players before actually solidifying those roles, that we found ourselves with an incomplete and less than capable roster. And so that's really what it is, man. The Lakers need to start stabilizing positional needs. And look, I know, like, as I've said many times, I've listened to some much smarter basketball minds. A lot of people do not believe in positional play anymore. They don't believe in positions. They just want players that can do everything all the time. Don't we all? But the reality is, positions are still a thing. People are still certain heights, and because you're not going to find everybody at the same damn height, you got to respect some positional logic. You got to respect some positional logic. And even if you're switching everything and want everybody to be positionless, a couple of them dudes better be ball handlers. A couple of them dudes better be shot blockers. All of them better be able to rebound. All of them should be able to at least be competent from behind the arc, if not better than that. We have to have some organization to our situations, and in my opinion, that's positional stability. It's positional stability. So. Yeah, that's the logic I wanted to bring to this video, just to solidify what I think our team really needs right now. Some stability. The center spot stability. I do believe that I was listening to conversations about DeAndre Ayton and what he potentially is thinking in the offseason. And what was said is that he may opt out of his $8 million contract to seek greener pastures with a bigger bag. I remember a conversation we had, I think it may have been 2 summers ago, before the end of the season, where it was said that D'Angelo Russell was going to opt out of his contract. And I was looking at everything around his situation, and I said to myself that made no sense, and I didn't believe it. This is that. With DeAndre Ayton, I absolutely do not believe he's going to opt out of that contract. I don't think any logic that aligns with my understanding is going to, expect that he's not going to take that $8 million. He should opt in. I think that if he decides not to opt in, he's going to find out that the market's going to be very unkind to him. He's probably going to get half of that. He's going to get half of it. He might get half of that if he gets any interest at all. It's solidified and understood that he can help a team, but it's also solidified and understood that he's very inconsistent to his core. Some days he's going to play well, some days he doesn't. This is what he's been his whole career. This is what any team that brings him in is going to expect from him, and that's exactly what they're going to want to pay him to do. And so if he's thinking like I'm thinking, he may have done some good things this year as it pertains to making teams want to keep him in the league, but I don't think he did a whole lot to raise his value up to a space where he's getting big bags anymore. That's not realistic for him. I don't think he did enough this year to make that happen. So DeAndre, I expect he may survey things. He may not necessarily be ready to believe that or whatever, but when they go back and sit down and figure out what it looks like in that landscape, if they go out there and test those waters, they're going to find out they're not going to get $8 million nowhere else. No one else is going to do that. Not any team that he actually wants to play for. Maybe a Sacramento might be willing to do something like that. But I doubt it. I doubt it. Even where they're at right now, I don't think too many teams would be willing to do something just downright illogical to the rest of us. So I think that you can look at DeAndre Ayton and say he's coming back as a Laker. Now, it's also been said that the Lakers are likely going to trade one of their players to create some flexibility. Somebody's going to be on the move, maybe Vanderbilt's contract, maybe Ayton if he opts in, maybe both of them. I'm of the mindset that there are certain players on this roster that I would love not to bring back. I just think that at this point, the roster, to be honest with you, wasn't annoying to me. Like when we had Gabe Vincent on the team and Taurean Prince, those were players that I could not rest until they were off my squad. If I'm being honest with everybody, I don't really have anybody on my team that I feel that strongly about at all. If we were to bring everybody back, I would be unhappy. But it's not like I'm looking at a specific player and saying it's because this player's here that I'm so pissed off. Not necessarily. I just think that we have gotten to this point with this roster where it's reached its ceiling. They were a fun bunch. But when you started going up against certain talent, particularly Oklahoma City, you understood that you were completely outclassed in certain areas and that you didn't have a chance of beating those teams because of those players being outclassed. And so for me, it's like when you start understanding what the team needs, if you're not going to remove anybody, you certainly must shift some things around. Adu obviously shifting up into regular rotation is important. Bronny James taking on a bigger role, obviously important. Dalton Knecht being utilized more, obviously important. I don't think even if you do enough of that you still have any chance of beating Oklahoma or San Antonio. And so for me, it's like, because I understand that, I just have to make some changes. And so that's really what it is. I don't hate any of our guys that to any degree where I'm sitting here saying, if we bring those guys back, we're in for a very unhappy season. I don't believe so. I think if we were to run it back, we'd be an improved ball club. But the ceiling of that ball club is no further than we got. Even if they get a lot better, they still get knocked off by the same team, probably in the same amount of games. You can improve all you want. You got to get a lot better to beat either one of them two Western Conference juggernauts going forward. And I expect there will be some new names coming into the fold, with Utah having a high pick. And who knows who else could shine next year. But I do think the West will be even better next season. So the Lakers got to get better. The Clippers got a top 5 pick. They're going to be right back in the mix, I'm sure, not too long from now, etc. So, again, Los Angeles Lakers, I think it would be in your best interest to, if you can improve and upgrade some guys, upgrade some guys. I've heard rumors about us still trying to do deals with New Orleans. Trigger Murphy III is on my wish list, always has been, but the price tag that's being rumored for Trigger is outside of our range of reason. It's outside of anyone's range of reason if what's being rumored is true. They want multiple picks, multiple first-round picks and swaps. Like, I don't know who they think Trigger is, but he's not that. I'll tell you that. I don't know what New Orleans got going on, but they really, the rumors that are going around in regards to what Trigger's worth and what Jones is worth is just like, you might as well just tell people those guys are not on the market. And to a point, they shouldn't be. If you have those players, why the hell are you moving them? New Orleans is weird, though. They're sort of like another Sacramento in a way. You just don't know what they're going to do next. Probably ain't going to work out, whatever it is. So if we can get our hands on those players, I think that would be awesome. But if it's going to cost what they're worth, I think that would be a failure, because you would then be depleting yourself of a lot of assets just to solidify pieces. And then what that means is that you'd be depleting your depth one way. That's how you can do it. There are several ways. That's one way you can do it. So depth is everything for us, man. We need solidified players at every position. I like the idea of Gordon. I hear that the Lakers are the leading front runner to get Gordon. I don't think that the Nuggets are going to be able to bring back Gordon and Peyton Watson. If you're the Nuggets, you probably would prefer to bring back Peyton Watson, even though I do wonder where he's at with his injury. But at the end of the day, what he showed us last year is that he's probably the player to invest in. I would love to have Peyton Watson for certain. I really would. But I just don't think that as a restricted free agent, there's any chance that the Nuggets won't match what he's getting. So I expect the Nuggets are going to be moving off of Christian Brown, maybe Aaron Gordon probably could be gone. They're likely to move on from Cam Johnson. And, so those are players that the Lakers could actually target themselves. Cam Johnson fits a need for us at wing, although I don't think that he's going to get much better from here. I still think he could be a nice addition to our team. But I just kind of look at him as a guy that's like, I don't know where he's at. I don't know where he's headed, and I don't expect too much. You reach that threshold where there's no more upside. And now you've seen enough sample size of a guy to believe that what they've been is kind of what you can expect from them going forward or worse. I think that's kind of where we're at with Cam Johnson. We're officially at a place where it's like, I don't think he's any better than what he's shown us. I think you can expect him to play anywhere from 30 to 60 games a season. Some of those games he's going to play very well. Most of those games he's going to be kind of average, and that's the production I expect from him. Sort of like 8. And so, in a different way, though. But I think when you talk about our Banshee work and what it is that we can expect from our shooters, bringing in Cam, even at that threshold, could be a legitimate upgrade for our team. And you consider we have a bigger role for him than maybe the Nuggets had last year. So, do I take a flyer on a Cam Johnson from my Los Angeles Lakers? Probably do. Buying low on a piece like that for us when we have the wing needs that we have and a need to upgrade, he's certainly an upgrade from Jake LaRavia. So if the Nuggets let go of him, as bad as wings are needed, you might have to pay a premium to get him, for which I don't think I'd be ready to do. But all things considered, if we can get him for a price that I think makes sense, I think Cam Johnson should be a Laker next season. So these are the type of things I'm thinking about, man. Because we only have one pick in the draft, so we got to play the free agency pool to whatever degree we can. Aaron Gordon, again, I think would be fantastic. He's played himself up into a role that I think has a really solid floor. I think his game is constructed to continue to play at a high level going forward as a role-playing, leading playoff performer. He is a playoff performer. Now, I do have some questions about his durability going forward. He's a guy I don't expect to play more than 50 games a season. But I expect for him to hit big shots. I expect for him to have big rebounding situations. I expect for him to help us with stops and things like that, and increase our defense by a lot if he would be inserted into our situation. So if we can get Gordon at a price that makes sense to us, I think that would be helpful. But if we're letting go of certain pieces that we need in order to bring him in, I think we can find ourselves a bit frustrated with the absence of a Rui, in the absence of, say, a LeBron, and suddenly you're bringing in Gordon. You haven't taken steps forward. You've actually taken steps backwards. And that's something that really needs to be said. There's a lot of talk about LeBron and how he could be taking a pay cut to go to a contender. That's noise. I'm telling you, that's noise. I don't doubt that LeBron is keeping his options open, and I'm pretty sure a lot of that noise is being put out by his camp to give him leverage. But I do not believe at all that he's going anywhere. I don't think he's leaving the Lakers. I don't think he's retiring. I think he's coming back next year, and I think he will negotiate in good faith with the Lakers and try to come back here for what will be his 9th season with our team. I just don't think he wants to I don't think he wants to reincorporate himself into a new locker room. I don't think he wants to uproot himself and his family to another team. I don't think he wants to leave his son on this basketball team or force his son to leave the beautiful LA bright light Lakers to go fly with him somewhere like Golden State or Cleveland. I just don't think he's thinking about himself only anymore, because now he has a son to consider in his son's career. So is he going to be stepping on toes on the way out the door? No, he's not. So a lot of this stuff is media, folklore, essentially media fluff to give them something to talk about, because they don't know how to make reasonable content without mentioning this man's name. And so what makes sense when he's a free agent? To rumor that he's going everywhere but where he's at. It doesn't mean that he will not leave. Like I said, he'll leave his options open. And if the Lakers disrespect him, I'm sure he wouldn't mind getting the hell up out of here. But as far as him coming up with these hit pieces about how he was disrespected because we didn't give him the game ball at the end of a game, this and that, I'm telling you, that's a bunch of fluff, man. It's nonsense. That's nonsense. And we haven't talked too much about it on this channel because of it. I just know better. I deeply, deeply know better. I will not entertain much of anything that comes out of those major networks in regards to LeBron James. They've conditioned a generation of people to feel a certain way about LeBron James, and none of it is organic at all. It never was. Truth of the matter is, LeBron James is an intricate piece to what it is that we're doing. We are better of a basketball team than we've been in about 6 years. And if he wants to win a championship, he's likely going to want to do it next to people that he trusts. You understand what I'm saying? And the Lakers have several of those people. J.J. Redick, his own hand-picked coach, his very own son, one of his good buddies in the league now, Austin Reeves, whom I'm sure the Lakers are going to bring back. These are people that I know LeBron likes being around. Is he going to want to join the Cleveland Cavaliers and play with some people he don't know at this stage in his career? No. Is he going to want to go up there in Golden State and play for Steve Kerr and be in all them small ball lineups? If he's paying attention to what I'm paying attention to, he's not even looking in their direction. Absolutely not. Is he going to go to Oklahoma? Might not be the worst idea if you're trying to win, but in the grand scheme of things, did we not just get kicked off by the Oklahoma City Thunder? What does he want to be the next Kevin Durant at this stage in his career, joining the ops after they destroy you in a sweep situation? No, he doesn't want that on his jacket. If he wanted that on his jacket, he would have did it years ago. We were a lot worse than what we are right now. Could LeBron James find himself a little unhappy with the Lakers? Yes. Would that unhappiness be new in theory? Of course not. No. If he's unhappy with the Lakers right now, then I'm sure he was unhappy with the Lakers last year, the year prior to that, the year prior to that, the year prior to that. Because if you listen to the media and you pay attention to what it is that they're talking about, there's been reasons to be unhappy with the Lakers the entire time, bro, and he's still here. He keeps re-ing up, no matter how many reasons he has to feel like he's been slighted, because a story like that comes out every damn year. So let's just be real, man. If you could think for yourself, then you know better than to listen to these people in regards to LeBron James. At this point, we've been doing this, for 24 years? This narrative creation stuff, I'm not paying attention to that. The reality is, for me, as a Laker fan, it feels like we're in the middle of something. And I think most of the people on this team feel like they're in the middle of something. We're doing something. We're getting better as a team. We're getting further into our situation. We're starting to establish a chemistry amongst Austin, Luka, and LeBron. They finally, this season, figured out how to play with one another and how to coexist with one another. I don't think LeBron at this age wants to learn how to coexist with Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley and people. Honestly, I don't. He's established how to play with Luka and Austin. So it's like, that's a role that he actually thrived in last year. I'm pretty certain he's going to want to play that role again. You don't want to learn too much at this age. You don't want to have to keep thinking and try to reestablish all this politics and all that, and dealing with people learning how to play with you and the jitterbugs that come with playing with LeBron James for new players that never played with him. You don't want to deal with none of that. Going to new systems, got to learn new coaches, deal with those politics, deal with that familiarity adjustment. That's too much to be dealing with at 41, 42 years old. I promise you. I'm his age. It's too much to be dealing with. I don't want to deal with that. I want very stable familiarity, sunshine. I want to take the same route to the Staples Center / Crypto.com arena. I'm used to the Western Conference time zone now. My kid's in school. My daughter's getting older now. She loved being in Los Angeles. She's an LA girl now. I'm not going nowhere, though. I'm not going nowhere. Let's just be honest. This LeBron thing is solidified in stone. He's going to be in LA. And he's going to be playing for the Lakers because he's been here for 9 years at this point, and he know better than put on a Clipper uniform. He know better. And they've been slighting him since he's been here. The whole time they've been slighting him. Ever since he got here, they've been putting the finger up to him. Ain't no way he's signing with them. No way. So that's what I want to say, man. For all those who are wondering what I think about LeBron coming back, I think it's solidified, it's written in stone that his preferred destination this year is Los Angeles Lakers. We're in the middle of something. We just got a guy that can help extend his career by 3 or 4 years. With the role that he's going to be playing and how easy it is for Luka to put numbers on the board. LeBron don't even have to score 20 points a game going forward if we do what we're supposed to do and solidify the roles around him. He don't even have to do that. He can score 18 points a game and still win 55 games. So that's the reality of it. If he knows what's good for him, if he's leaving this place, he's going to go one of 3 places. Oklahoma or San Antonio. And if you ask me, he don't want to live in either one of them places. If you didn't want to live in Memphis, you damn sure don't want to live in Oklahoma. So let's just be real. If he's going to be chasing a championship ring, why? You've been to more finals than anybody else. You got 4 rings. There's nothing to prove there. So that narrative seems a little strange to me. Now, everybody wants to chase championship glory. But who has more championships than the Lakers? The Celtics. You going to the Celtics? No. So if you're playing the odds, the likelihood that you're going to win a championship with the Lakers are pretty damn high. And guess what? He already has one. So it's not like he's chasing that here. There's nothing logical about considering him leaving Los Angeles at all, man. There's nothing. Going up to Golden State is a bad organization with a bad general manager right now. Let's just be honest, bro. They're terrible. I think it's more likely Steph Curry comes down here than LeBron James goes up there. I'm just being real. I give that about a 3% chance. 3%. So that's really what I got to say about that, man. I think he's extremely important to what it is that we're doing right now. I think his role is good for him. I think he's good for the role. And I don't think we need to be worrying about starting power forwards necessarily. Although getting Gordon is key. But Gordon can play the small ball 5. Bron can play the small ball 5. We can rotate them. That's not going to be much of a think piece for us. However, if for some reason that 3% comes alive, it becomes a situation where I think you're in such a very difficult situation if you don't get the right return for LeBron, that you could find yourself in a position where you're getting a lot worse if you bring yourself Aaron Gordon and you don't have LeBron. You see what I'm saying? If you're going to lose LeBron for, say, the 11th pick and freaking Jimmy Butler's contract, which is a literal nightmare to me, there's a good chance that your team's going to be worse next year. Your team's not going to be better for that. You got to find a way to bring all types of stuff to you, and then you got to try to manufacture the production that LeBron James provided. And I don't think you have the stuff to get the stuff that makes that happen. So it's extremely important, if my calculations are correct, for the Los Angeles Lakers to bring Bron back. You need that. You need that for the overall stability of what's surrounding Luka Doncic. He needs LeBron back. You need LeBron back. So that's what I wanted to say about that. So yeah, man, I think, rim protection is so important to me, man. I'm looking at Flory Badunga. I'm looking at Swigo. I'm looking at Quaintance if he would be available, which I doubt. I'm looking at Mara if he would be available, which I extremely doubt. I think he's gone in the first 12 picks. I'm looking at Reed. I'm looking at Vasar. And then I'm looking deeper into the second round at players like Miller, Baba Miller, Trayvon Brazile, Isaiah Nelson. There's a few others as well. Some players, you know what I mean? This is where my head's at. I just think that the Lakers really need to solidify their rim protection situation and center play. Center depth is everything for us. If we don't address anything else, we have to bring ourselves some centers that can accompany DeAndre Ayton and Jackson Hayes. I don't think getting rid of either one of them is the answer. If I'm being completely real with myself, I would love to improve upon both of those players, Jackson Hayes and DeAndre Ayton. But I don't think we can be in the business of letting centers walk out the door. If anything, we need to bring ourselves more of them. We need depth. 2 centers in rotation is not enough. You need about 3. So, that's really what it is. Chris Sinak is not really a center, but if he's available, you probably feel great about him at 25. But you got to respect that you remember Brian Cook? Everybody who remembers Brian Cook back in the day, he was like a 6'10" guy that shot jumpers. He didn't really play in the paint like that. I wasn't a real fan of his game. That's kind of the world of Chris Sinak, Channing Frye. He wants to shoot jumpers. Now, he's more toolsy than dudes. He's got more handles than dudes. He's a much better player than both of them, in my opinion, when he reaches his ceiling, for certain. But for now, if you're not picking up Chris Sinak to shoot jumpers, you're going to be very irritated with Chris Sinak. So for me, I would rather him be a power forward with the hopes of convincing him that he is a center. Because he's not a natural center in his mind. He's a guard, which can really be great 3 years from now when he fully develops, especially if he develops properly. But he's not going to be the answer at the rim protection for us. He's not the answer on a lot of different days. He could be a nice lob threat. He's definitely a 7-footer, but he's going to want to shoot jumpers. And that could be great. But when you need rim protection, you need center play, you need interior defensive post, stability. Yeah, that's not who he is. So, Reed probably seems like the player. I think Reed is the statistical darling. Reed is the rebounding guy. He's someone who's going to realistically be available at 25, so you're not going to potentially miss out on him. I don't know that he's fast as a Badunga, but he has more more game, I guess, attributes to his game than Flory. Flory is more athletic. Flory can guard perimeter players, which is why he should be interesting to us. You can have him trek out, and he's quick enough to move around and switch everything. Flory cannot shoot the ball, but Flory's very strong. Flory's going to be a good board guy. Flory's going to block shots, so he should be intriguing to the Lakers. I feel more comfortable taking him at like 36 than 25, but consensus is not to be married to when you're trying to fulfill stability for positional need, especially when a lot of the guys in your consensus are not going to fulfill your needs. So yeah, that's how I'm looking at that. I think I probably would take a Reed at 25 if the board shook out to where that made sense to me. Swigo is a guy that I think could probably go in the first round in a lot of situations. Maybe the Lakers like him, and I think he moves better than people are saying he does. You can check out the video I made on Swigo. I think his fluidity of movement and balance and control is a lot better than what you would expect from a 7'4" guy. I don't think people are giving him enough credit for that. He could be a 3-level scorer and a shot blocker. But there is some things to his game that need to improve, and he does have some limitations, etc. So it's not like he's a perfect player. But a guy like Swigo at 7'4", I feel really good about taking him at 25. But I do think he would probably have the learning curve and some development. And, I don't know that he has the energy that maybe a Reed has or Acquaintance has. So, like for me at 25, when the board starts looking in a way that I don't like, when I do my mock, sometimes I either take Reed or Swigo. That's my fail safe for a bad board. So that's just something I want to say. I'm thinking center, but I will not be unhappy if the Lakers bring me a wing. I will not be unhappy if we draft a Cam Carr. I will not be unhappy if we draft what's his name? Billy Goat. I would not be unhappy if we draft him at all. I think he would help us a lot, even though he can't shoot. I still love the idea of solidifying our wing. But I think I would feel incomplete with the stability of my center position if I don't take a center with my pick. That's what I think I'd feel. If Morez Johnson's on the board, I'm taking Morez Johnson for sure. He should not be on the board, but he does not fall past 25 on my board. I'll take him over pretty much anybody in our range because I'm that high on him. You know what I mean? But chances are he's out of here. I mean, he tested so well in the combine, and he has so many different attributes to his game that people should be excited about, that I think he's a lottery pick at this point. So I would be surprised if any of those Michigan players are on the board at 25. I don't think they should be at all. So, like, these are things that I just, as somebody who's really insisting on the Lakers drafting well, these are the type of conversations that I like having. So, yeah, man, it's been going, an hour now? You got to be a real Laker nerd to listen to me, man. I know I was looking at somebody's comments on one of my videos, and he was so unhappy with me because I wouldn't hurry up and get to what it is I'm talking about. This is not for those type of people. My channel is not for you, man. My channel is for people who have patience and have a very nice, long attention span. So that's really what it is, man. If you need 30 seconds or less, you're in the wrong spot, bro. Don't come over here telling me not to tell you what time the game start. I try to fulfill the needs of people who don't have access to that information, who don't want to look it up on their own. They come to my channel. If you're going to tell somebody what something's going on, you should probably tell them what time is taking place. So that's something I try to provide people consistently. So yeah, that for that young man who was not happy with me, you called me an a-hole for giving people the time of games. That's an a-hole I'm happy to be, because I'm definitely going to provide everybody who follows me with the information that they need so that they can follow what it is that I'm talking about. So I think I'll leave you guys with that conversation, man. I thank you guys for allowing me to bump my gums. I've been BDO44. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.